Hi,
Well, thank you again for taking the time out to speak with
awesome.
me. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about the development of the film and what inspired you to make the
Oh,
documentary overall.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Uh,
I'm sorry, Karen.
It's okay. I was asking about the origins of the film and what really inspired you to make the documentary, just how the whole film got started.
Oh, the origin. Okay, I can't believe I have like an official origin story. Um, yes, so it started, yes, with my aunt and a move to LA, staying with her. She um is sur- she has a bunch of dolls, and I was surrounded by dolls, and I am not a fan of dolls, and so I asked a question: why do you have so many dolls? And I knew she worked for Mattel, but I didn't know her story, and so she sat me down and told me her story, and that included her time at Mattel, and yes, working on that first Barbie line and eventually getting to a place where she and her coworkers were asking for you know, why not make a doll that looks like me? And that question just stuck with me. And I started to do some research, and here we are. I learned Black Barbie's story at that time. Um, I didn't even know Black Barbie existed. And so I felt like potentially I wasn't the only one. And I was inspired to tell the story of my aunt's story.
Mhm. And speaking about the research as well, and I also wanted to ask about that process for you as a filmmaker and really delving into the history of Mattel and developing the Black Barbie and what that experience was like as well in terms of the research.
I'm sorry, developing the Black Barbie? Or I'm sorry, can you
Um,
repeat the
yeah. What was
question?
the process of, like you mentioned, doing the research into the development of the Black Barbie and what that process was like for you?
Oh, the
And yeah.
process. Okay, yes. So the filmmaking process, definitely, it's sitting down with my aunt and hearing her tell her story a couple of times, of course, and just listening to, like she mentioned to me, for example, the Shindana Toy Company. And I was like, okay, what's the Shindana Toy Company? But then as we started to sit down with more people, I had two other people mention the Shindana Toy Company. So I was at that point in time, I was like, if three people are mentioning something, then I feel like I need to really consider this and learn more than I would initially need to know about it. Um, and so I just found myself in the research and development stage for a really long time as I was applying for grants, trying to get the money to make the film, and being just inspired creatively as well along the way. It's Barbie, so it's like we have to play with dolls in this movie. Like, I don't know how to make a documentary about Black Barbie and not play with dolls. Um, and it needs to be a certain aesthetic. It needs to be poppy and bright and fun. I want it to be a fun, thoughtful, engaging ride, and hopefully we pulled it off.
Mhm. Also, while you were making the film, what was the experience like? Also, really interviewing people who were familiar with the doll and really finding out more of the history and really maybe setting up the interviews for the film. What was that experience like as well?
Yes, so I thought it was important to, we speak with designers, and so I thought that was important to speak with the people who are actually making the dolls that some of the other people that we talked to, which include like Black Barbie enthusiasts and Black Barbie fanatics and Barbie fanatics. That just felt like almost like a no-brainer in the sense of, let's talk to the people who make the dolls. Let's talk to the people who appreciate and play with the dolls. And so that was really fun. And then grounding it in the timeline and the history, it also felt important to sit down with academics who know the history of dolls and the history of Black dolls in particular. And so, as we sat down with those three different groups of people, other elements started to come into play. And also, at the beginning, this was something that I knew I wanted to do, which was at the time that we were in the research development stage of things, we were saying we were reimagining the doll test of the 1940s. But as you see in the documentary, it's kind of shifted towards a rethinking of it. We kind of took it in a different direction in the sense of we sat down with researchers to kind of talk about what we were seeing with the kids. And I think our third act is really just pretty awesome because of that element as well. So a lot of different elements in play that hopefully makes for an enjoyable experience for our audience.
Mhm. Also, I saw that you produced the film as well as directed, and wanted to ask about that experience, both directing and producing, throughout the production, and how you approached doing both jobs overall.
Yes, so definitely as an independent filmmaker, you wear several hats. I'm in the process of trying to take some off. But yes, the producerial role, working with Aaliyah Williams, the other producer on the film, it was great because I felt like we had a balance of who is working on what. And so when she came on board, I had a list of people that I would love to interview and had done some initial reaching out to. In my past life, I was a line producer and a production manager. So I had relationships with vendors and crew that I was able to lean into as a producer on this project as well, to use those relationships to, get what we needed in order to make the film happen. And I actually had a lot of fun in the producerial role and took on the budgeting and management of that as well. So then Aaliyah went off and, booked interviews and managed the schedule. And, with a documentary, you don't have consecutive shoot days. You're at the realm of people's schedules. And so it's not economically, what's the word? Like trying to schedule one interview for one day is, yes, not the way you want to go to maximize your budget.
Yeah.
So also just she was great at stacking interviews. Like we have X amount of interviews on this one day. So it was great to share those producerial roles with someone who I felt we had a really nice balance and played to each other's strengths and weaknesses.
And also, what was the editing process like once you were able to film all the interviews and really figuring out what you wanted the final version of the film to be?
Right. So yes, we worked with Heidi Zimmerman, who was working remotely from Portland. Both Aaliyah and I are based out of California. And that process was really nice because I think we have been in a world of Zooming and remote work. So we have that dialed in. So that wasn't a problem. And we had a film that started out being like 8 hours, and whittling it down to 100 minutes, that was a task, I will say. And there are a lot of great themes and elements and scenes that were left on the cutting room floor. And so the editing process was basically really narrowing in on, you know, what it was the film was saying, the message and the themes, um, and what made sense. This is my first documentary, and I kind of always am like, yeah, I spent my time reading through transcripts and watching dailies, and A Beautiful Mind comes to mind, where he's
Mhm.
looking at the chalkboard and the numbers are lighting up, and I was like, the words were lighting up. It was like legacy, team,
Mhm.
authenticity, intentional, and I was like, who says this? Legacy. Yes, and pulling those segments of interviews in order to speak to the overall themes that we were, you know, we take on in the film.
With the movie having its world premiere at South by Southwest yesterday and having several more screenings this week, what's the experience been like of being able to share the movie with audiences in Austin and get their feedback as well?
Yes, so yesterday was wild.
Mhm.
Man, it feels like a blur. I feel like I was just pure adrenaline all day, like until it was finally over and I crashed really hard.
Mhm.
It was great. We had a sold out screening at 11 o'clock yesterday, and the energy was amazing. Our audience was 100% awake and ready. Our team, I had a bunch of family and friends there, and our crew that was there, our entire like Black Barbie team was awesome and ready to go. Um, our publicists, they were awesome, and all of the like South by Southwest managers, everyone was just as excited as we were. And it was amazing because we had Janet Pearson, who introduced the film and did our Q&A, and that was just so special. And I didn't even get to tell her how I even knew her before South by Southwest, watching a documentary that her husband made prior to that I was struck by a long time ago. And so it was just really, really special. And we had Black Barbie with us, and that felt really special. And my aunt, my mom, like it was just, I have no words at this point in time. And after the screening, the talk and the things people had to say about it, I you just never know, you know, when if what you're doing will make sense to other people or will resonate with other people, and you just have your fingers crossed and hope. And you know what? I was hopeful, and it was something that came to fruition. Like it was a tangible, hope was a tangible thing yesterday.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful to be here with the project.
And I had one last question I wanted to ask before we had to wrap, and just about maybe now with the film's premiere at South by, what are your plans coming up? Are you maybe going to other festivals, or what can you discuss about what's coming up after the film?
Yes, yes. We will be playing at the end of the month at the Cleveland International Film Festival, and we have some other festivals that are lined up that haven't announced yet that I can't really speak to right now. But yes, next up is Cleveland. I believe we're screening on the 24th and 25th of March. And so I'm so excited to start this journey. in this phase of the project. I was in research and development and trying to get the project made for so long that I'm just at a space where I'm like, are we really here? Did we really make it this far? Is it done? Is this happening? Even watching it yesterday on the big screen, I was like, yo, this is a thing. It's happening. It happened. Um, you finished the documentary with my team, The Village. There's an eye in filmmaking, but it takes a village. And so everyone came in and did an amazing job, and I think it shows on the screen. I think it does, yeah.
Well, thank you again for taking the time out to speak with me today. I appreciate
Hey, yeah, not a problem.
it.